Hey guys, John here. This month's preset pack is Retro Waves 2, and here we go. Alright, so that was a couple of the patches aside from the drums that come with the pack. So let's kind of go through everything here. Let's kind of remove this waveform here in the center and kind of check out the patches that come with this pack. So here we go. We are Retro Waves right here. The first one is going to be an ARP, blowing bubbles, and it sounds a little something like this. And to put it into context a little bit, let's grab a drum track over here and kind of just loop this a little bit while we play this over here. This one comes with cutoff, res, tone, and effects here. Next up, we have ARP, rhythmic retro bass, and this one is actually kind of fun to play, so here we go. This one is cutoff, res, sub, and effects. Next up, we have ARP smooth bass. What would be a retro track without an ARP bass, right? Now this next ARP is called ARP throat because it kind of sounded a little bit throaty, so here we go. And this one's kind of interesting too because we have the cutoff, the res, and then we have this texture here. So take a listen to more of the top end once this knob goes all the way up. We get a little bit of a texture there. So the next one we're going to get into basses now. This one is creamy bass. And has quite a nice sustain. And this one you can always easily add an ARP, just enable the arpeggiator, and it's good to go for that. We have cutoff, res, attack, and effects here. So most of these are self-explanatory, except the attack one. So take a listen to the difference of the attack. We almost get that kind of like squelchy, kind of scrapey, picky kind of sound. Here it's much more round. So yeah, mix that into taste however you would like. Next we have another bass called the Mini bass. So this one's kind of interesting because I actually used the waveforms in both engines from the Mini and the Mini filter here and kind of just went with like a Mini Moog bass. And this one's labeled tone as opposed to cutoff because I think it kind of gives it a little bit more difference of tone rather than just cutting off the filter, but it does the same thing essentially. And then resonance, and then we have timbre, which is just a little kind of different sound to it. We have a little bit more higher frequencies here on the timbre for when it goes all the way to the top, and then kind of on the lower end, it's just a lot more bassy. So this pack comes with quite a lot of leads. So as you can see, all of these leads here. So this first one here is called Big and Bright. we have a little bit of tone control here, so we can turn this all the way to the left. And this patch comes with a little bit of glide, and depending on if you like the glide or not, I've put that on a macro just in case, so here's no glide. Next up, we have Calming Clouds. We have a traditional cutoff, resonance, and a little bit of noise here to kind of make it a little bit noisier, a little bit more retro. You can hear the nice chorus going through the noise, or the nice noise going through the chorus. Very authentic. Next up, we have Classic Dreams. Cutoff, res, and sub and effects. So in case you have some bass kind of going on and you don't really want the low end of this patch, you can always turn this to the left. And you get the same texture, just no low end because you might have something else going on. Next up, we have Going Through Phases because, you know, it's not a phase, Mom. We have cutoff, res, sub, and effects. And a very cool part about this pack here is that there's a lot of these sounds that are actually used in the wavetable engine from a lot of the synthesizer sounds. So it's a little bit more authentic that way, I found. Next up, we have Neon Whistles. I had to put a sound like this in there. It just makes sense. A sound like this will cut through the mix pretty easily. And I kind of left the release pretty short just in case, but you can always go into the release envelope and increase it if you need to. And I'm super happy for this next one called Shark Fin because I haven't really found a triangle wave that does that shark fin kind of sound, and I finally found it in the wavetable engine. I forgot exactly what wavetable it was, but none, or what's I say? There's finally a wave or a shark tooth thing right here, shark fin. You see that kind of like weird triangle shape, and that's a really cool sound to put some glide and vibrato and stuff. So it kind of sounds like this. It's kind of similar to Neon Whistles, but it does have a little bit of different texture here. So we have cutoff, res, but, you know, it's a kind of a sharp sound, so we can always kind of dull it down a little bit. Kind of make it kind of in the background, kind of ambient here. And then we have resonance and effects, but this one's kind of interesting because it's called Turn Me. And making this patch, it kind of almost turned it into an entirely different patch. So it's kind of like two patches in one. So check this out here. We have this kind of whistle thing, right? Something cool. And then once we turn this, kind of interesting there. Next up, we have Sharp and Fluffy because it's sharp and it's kind of fluffy too. My naming convention sucks, so bear with me. There's a fluffiness to it. And now it starts to get a little sharp. That low end is just nice and rich. Right, something kind of like that, a lot of like delays and reverbs. Anyway, next up we have Sharp Yet Smooth. Kind of a similar kind of thing, but it's a really good lead for something like this. kind of sharp, it's kind of pointy, but it's almost to that point where it's a little bit too pointy. But if it does get a little too pointy, you can always bring down the cutoff and kind of fit into your mix a little bit more. And this one also does come with some nice analog noise that we can always turn it down or up depending on what we want to with here. So if you don't like that noise in the background, you can just remove it entirely and we have a clean, sharp yet smooth. I try to give options if I can. Next up we have simplicity, and this one's kind of cool because we're really using most of the effects and kind of doing a little bit minimalistic as far as the oscillators go, which is why it's just on one engine here and we're not using the second one, and just a little bit of the utility. And this one's kind of nice because we can hold down the low end a little bit with something like this and increase the sub if we'd like to. Or we can kind of bring this down and kind of use it more in the higher register and kind of make a little bit nice lead to kind of come with everything else that's in the track. So it's quite flexible in that sense. So next up, we're getting into some of the pads here, and the first one is called Glimmer of Hope with the cutoff, resonance, sub in case you need some extra low end, and the effects here. All right, next one we have Marshmallow, because it's kind of like a mellow pad, and it's, yeah, okay, whatever. Here we go. Cutoff, resonance, sub, and effects for this guy here. And next up, we have the Pulse, which is another pad, which is kind of interesting because there's a little bit of a rhythmic pulse here using the second engine here on these samples, so using a little bit of granular synthesis. There's like a slight rhythmic feeling to it. And that is going to be in time with your BPM, so don't worry about the pulsing going in and out of time with your track. It will sync up perfectly. Next pad, and the last pad, is called Wandering Sunset, because where else do sunsets go? They wander. So we have a cutoff, resonance, sub, and effects. And last but not least, we have a pluck, which is called Bright and Shiny. So I'm going to bring down the master here just a little bit here, because this one can be a little loud in the sense that I have my volume kind of loud. So just to protect your ears, we have Pluck, Bright and Shiny, which is kind of based on a bell. Now we can go a little bit louder than that. Because it feels like every type of old patch I've kind of gone through old synthesizers, there's always this kind of bell sound. So I thought I might as well make something like that and put it in this pack. And over here on the macros, so we have tone to kind of change the timbre of the sound a little bit. We want more of a dull kind of bell sound. And the decay, which is attached to not only the decay, but also the release. So if you want a little bit longer ringed out bell, ring my bell, right? We can kind of increase this here. And then we have spread. As you can kind of hear how it's kind of bouncing a little bit between our left and right speaker. It's kind of crazy at this level here, but I kind of wanted to give a little bit more extra just in case you want to use something like that. I kind of would have it maybe around like 0.3 or 0.4, something around there. That way every single hit's not exactly in the same spot in the stereo field. And keep in mind, we can always bring back this decay. So we have something kind of short here, and then go into the arpeggiator and turn this on here, and we have nice arp. And let's see how that would sound with something like the beginning here for this first part of the song. So yeah, fairly easy to use for this pack here. So yeah, this is Retro Waves 2. There's a link in the video description below if you would like to get it. And yeah, thanks so much for watching. We'll see you in the next preset pack. And for next month's preset pack, I don't really know what exactly I'm going to do yet. So if you have any interesting suggestions, please drop them below in the comments and I would maybe consider doing that. So yeah, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next video.